mind, not only my career, but everything I do every single day with everybody I work with. So I'm originally from Colombia, and I came to this country with a suitcase, a student visa, a pocket translator, yes, I am that old, and I didn't speak a word of English at the age of 17. And fast forward now, and definitely I can say that the American dream is real. However, that came with its own learning journey, and I never thought my experience back in Texas at the age of 17 was going to redefine what I do for a living today. So here I am, 17 years old, in Texas, which is a whole country of its own, right? Anyone from Texas here? That was my first American experience, y'all. And when people saw that I spoke Spanish, they would be like, oh, are you from Mexico? And I'm like, am I supposed to be Mexican? You know, I was this naive little Colombian girl, right? Foreign student, just kind of smiling because I didn't understand half of what they said. And then when I said, no, I'm from Colombia, I would get the, ooh, Pablo Escobar. Yes, he was alive, well, and kicking back then. You know, I didn't have the benefit of today's Colombian kids that have Shakira, Sofia Vergara, they get to be cool. You know, I got Pablo, and now with my friends from Netflix and Narcos, I have to explain myself all over again, so they're not making my life any easier. Because it really was 30 years ago, folks. You can't go to Colombia, it's beautiful, it's safe, and Pablo is not around. But I realized there was like a little bit of ignorance, right? Maybe my naive self never saw it as racist or controversial. I was like, oh, maybe they just don't know enough. And I realized there was a cultural gap very early on in my American experience. Didn't make much of it. When I could, I educated them on the issue and the fact that no, we're not all associated to Pablo back in Colombia. But that just stayed with me as I then entered into a corporate career that took me to Disney, 10 years at Johnson & Johnson. And one thing, and I would like to challenge you all in this room to never, ever, ever forget where you come from, no matter what you're doing. Even if it's not in your job description, we have a responsibility to the legacy of who we are, our parents, our communities, and those that are in front of us and ahead of us as the legacy that we can leave and impact ahead. So when I was at Johnson & Johnson as a young executive, moved up the ranks very quickly. I ended up leading global marketing there at a very young age. But I had this Latino thing inside of me, right? I kept going back to my moments in Texas when people looked at me and thought I was Mexican, and I was supposed to be that because if you speak Spanish, that's who you are, period. And then many other stereotypes that would surround the conversation. So you can choose to continue to do your job, do it well, meet and exceed your goals and objectives, and be all fat and happy at the end of the year when you get your bonus. Or choose to shake it up and create what hasn't been created. And I strongly believe that it's people like all of you in this room, and like Jeffrey with his story, the ones that make a difference. Because you go beyond what is being asked of you to do, and when you do it in a data-driven way, it transcends any opinion. So when I was at J&J, without the title of anything, multicultural diversity or anything, I couldn't help my Latina self to first of all ask, where are all the Latino employees? How come we're not all together? How come we don't have like a group? There was a women's group at the time, and you know, some of these affinity groups were starting. I'm telling you, this is 2005. And I said, you know what, let's create a Hispanic Employee Resource Group, why not? But I refused to be the group celebrating Cinco de Mayo party at the cafeteria. I refused, and I told that to the team. I said, we are going to be taken seriously. This is not a social club. Or this is not the therapy session where we complain about how few of us are in management. This is going to be a group. And I'm telling you, 2005, this year I'm going back to the anniversary because it's like, you know, I feel like an old, proud mom going back, yay. They're still around, live and kicking. Ola is like incredible at J&J, and I'm still in touch with all of them there. But my point being is, I discovered that there was power in this thing called cultural intelligence. Because everyone talks about EQ and IQ as the things that you need to have and get right to be a leader. But cultural intelligence is the ability to integrate cultural competence into everyday decision making. despite of your job. And by the way, cultural intelligence doesn't come by pigmentation because you're black and brown, Garcia, Rodriguez, or Gil. It has nothing to do with that. Because today in America, some of the most successful business stories that we celebrate out in the trade and in the news are by white guys that got cultural intelligence right. Michael Kerber, who's that guy? Guy from New York, discovered coconut water. Every Puerto Rican in America should be beating themselves up against the coconut tree that they grew up with. I'm kidding. Sorry, I have to pick on my Boricua friends. Why did it take another guy to discover coconut water? Because he had cultural curiosity, turned it into intelligence, and did something with it. So how many opportunities are we leaving on the table because we forget who we are when we walk through the doors Monday morning? Or because somebody else, by the way, that is not Garcia, Gomez, Brown, or Black, opened their minds to our world and took as new and fresh and innovative something that maybe we just dismissed as common. There is cultural intelligence and the opportunity to acquire it and exercise it everywhere around us. So yes, as we quickly become a majority-minority nation, the only way you will be able to set yourself apart from the pack and make an impact, make a legacy impact that delivers ROI, as Jeffrey was saying, is if you choose to exercise that superpower called cultural intelligence. So it lives all around, it has an impact all around. You know, I was just saying, you know, you make my job really easy, but I wanted to just think about 3 areas. I'm gonna make this really short, hopefully we get to talk more in questions, but 3 areas that are fundamentally critical for America to be great again. Have you heard that before? Oh, you know, we have to bet on the sources of growth in population, in entrepreneurship, in workforce. And if we don't get that right, as silly, I'm not just playing with the tagline, but it's a true statement, we will not achieve our full potential. So 3 areas that I want you to think about that absolutely require cultural intelligence in today's practice so that we can continue to stay competitive as a nation for the years to come. Number 1 has to do with commercial growth, right? Jeffrey just talked about it. I don't care whether you believe or not in the multicultural thing, but last time I checked, you invest in the segments, in the portfolios, in the areas that drive growth. And if there's one number you can remember for the next meetings to come, for the next 20 years to come, is 100% of population growth in America is driven by diverse communities, period. So if you are not investing, then you are willingly investing in a declining, shrinking market. And that's just dumb. I don't care what business model you put in front of me. I don't care how much you justify it. I don't know how the Wall Street guys let it go. Because it is mathematically impossible to achieve full growth if you're not investing in the growth segments. And if 100% of the growth is coming from these segments, then why are you putting your money on a shrinking market? 1 in 3 New Yorkers is Latino. Isn't that one of your top markets? Almost half of the state of Texas is as well. And it keeps changing and moving and moving and moving. You can build all the walls you want, it's gonna happen. We're having babies, I contributed with 2. I'm proud. Little New Yorker Latinos roaming around over here. So growth. It's impossible, commercially impossible to achieve growth without getting this right. Therefore, cultural intelligence matters when it comes to it. That was point number 1. Point number 2 has to do with workforce, right? You know, I find it amusing, well, it's a serious topic, but to me it's amusing when everyone is so like caught up with the STEM thing. Ooh, STEM, STEAM, whatever, all of them. Now, unless you engage the Latina moms, the brown moms, the black moms, and STEM understanding, we're not going to be ready. Because the population in public schools in America has already reached majority-minority status. That's an old statistic, by the way, 2014. We're way past that. Population under 5 is already majority minority. That is the future of America. Those are the kids that need all the STEM and the role models and the special programs and all this stuff. But you can preach all day long to them in the schools, but unless you go upstream to the families, we're going to stay stuck where we're at right now. We ran a big data study not too long ago to look at what was the affinity across different ethnic groups towards careers in STEM. And the negative view, perception, and affinity to careers in STEM of Hispanic and Black kids was 2 times bigger, higher, more negative than the rest. So if those are the kids that are driving the population growth and represent the future of the workforce of America and are disillusioned by the areas that we need to stay competitive, that means America will not be able to stay competitive. This is not a minority thing, this is not a supplier diversity thing, this is not a D&I thing, this is an American prosperity, American great thing. Great thing for America, actually, to get right. So workforce, mathematically impossible, again, to get it right, to be ready, to compete without cultural intelligence into that practice. And number 3, which has become one of my most recent passion points, literally in the last 12 months. I never signed up for this, but I guess, again, passion moves me. When something hasn't been created, I just go and create it. That's why I became a corporate dropout and do what I do now. Living an amazing job in a great company that I love and I work with to this day. But entrepreneurship, you know, we're hearing so much buzz about bring jobs back, and, you know, made in America, and how do we grow, you know, entrepreneurship and all of that. We know, and this is a common stat, an easy one also for you to remember. By the way, this 3rd point is super critical for all of you in supplier diversity. The country is going to collapse without you doing what you do. And that's the term, by the way, that you need to use with your CEO or your CFO. This is not feel-good altruism. It's sustainability, it's economic impact, it's a ripple effect of what you do and the people that you hire that has a big impact in the country. Why? 60% of all jobs in America are created by small businesses. Everybody knows that is like the indicator for economic health, right? And here we go, I love the 100%. It makes memorizing these numbers easy. 100% of the net new business growth in America is driven by minority business owners. In fact, the other groups, or the other group, non-Hispanic white, to be technically right, is actually reporting negative growth. Which means 100% of the net new growth of those jobs that we need for the economy to stay healthy are coming from people like us. And we, and there's plenty of statistics about this, tend to hire more people from our communities, tend to give back and invest more in our communities. So the sustainability and ripple effect is very, very healthy. However, while I celebrate that Latino business owners, are growing 15 times, Black women are actually leading the pack above all segments when it comes to new business creation. Yet, remember this number, because this thing got me mad, and that's why I started Dreamers Ventures, the accelerator for minorities. I discovered this number last year. It's been around, nobody just says it, so please share it. Become my megaphone. You know how we women complain about equal pay all the time, which is a legit thing, I'm not diminishing it. And for us, Latina, Black women, it's even worse. But minority business owners earn 31 cents to the dollar in revenues versus their counterparts. It's public data by the Minority Development Agency. It's not Lily Stat or some Nielsen number or some independent report. It's a federal agency, has it published, you can search it. The catch is nobody has used it in those terms. The numbers are reported in whole numbers. I did the math, and it's 31 cents to the dollar. Now my question to you all is supplier diversity, and it goes back into the average billings that we grant to these types of businesses, right? And it's not a handout, it's not a favor. Many of them are indeed capable. But how do we make that shift? Give them a shot, include them in the bid. Match them up with the big guys for them to figure it out together. You know? That's the only way. And not to feel good about, oh, you poor minority small business. The American economy cannot create new jobs and grow at the pace it needs to unless those businesses that are driving all the new growth in firm creation achieve their full potential, and we are at 31 cents to the dollar. When you do the reverse math, if minority-owned businesses were to right-size themselves, it's like a $3 trillion gap in revenues that the American economy is not seeing. I mean, that's like in the list, China aside, that would put us in like the top 5, you know, GDP listing of the BRIC market countries. It's like, it's huge. So what you do in your job has that kind of impact. And as I go across America, kind of preaching my cultural intelligence message and do the work that we do with our team, from boardrooms of America to talking to chairmen and CEOs in different corporations, I never thought in a million years, and I was just sharing it with Angel, the picture, of what happened 3 weeks ago, which is now what has compelled me to take this to a whole new level. Politics aside, regardless of who's sitting in DC right now, we gotta get this right. And I got to sit with the president 3 weeks ago and told him, Mr. President, we're becoming a majority minority nation. There's power in diversity, and we need to get this right. Now that unraveled a whole new thing that I wasn't looking for. But where am I going with that? That if you see a gap, you gotta take action. I saw that the 31 cents to the dollar was just out of control. We less than 1% access venture capital and angel investing. And I don't claim to be, you know, the super angel yet, but I'm gonna start investing in the businesses that I can. Which is why we created the accelerator that we did and launched 5 products created by Latinas on TV last month. Never seen in American television before. And it will continue. Minorities, women, Latino, Black. Our folks don't get a chance, so let's fast track them. And just rally up the few people that have helped me in this town, full of access and resources and opportunity, but democratize the access to those resources to more people. And you have the ability to do that. But it takes the courage of, first of all, understanding that what you do is so much bigger than your job. There's no amount of money, in my case, that would fulfill me with what satisfaction and purpose does. I believe strongly that we're in the business of purposeful profits, and we can be. It's not one versus the other, it's both together. And net-net, the one thing I want you to take away is that cultural intelligence is needed to thrive, to grow, to succeed, and to keep being the great country that we are. Rooted in diversity, anchored in diversity, not because it looks pretty on the picture, but because that's what's driving 100% of the growth in every segment you look. So as you go back into your jobs, challenge your boss, your peers, your direct reports, we do need to reframe, and Jeffrey said that very well. We need to reframe this conversation. It is about transformation from the inside out. It is not the small thing, it is the total thing to do. It is the American thing to do. It's not the Hispanic program, the Black program, the Asian program. It's betting in growth. It's investing in growth. And it's getting all of us ready as corporations, business owners, individuals, fathers and mothers of the future generations of professionals and leaders in this country, ready so we stay competitive, prosperous, and as the beautiful nation that we are. So I encourage you to go out, exercise your newly found superpower, cultural intelligence. You got it. If you think you don't have it, start playing with it, bring it out, get curious, take action. And that's what's going to keep us going and going to keep us together, and it's going to keep the numbers looking up and up and up and up as we all want in all the different areas that we touch. Thank you. there's any questions, comments. Yes, ma'am.
Buenos días. Mi nombre
Buenos
es
días.
Liliana. Yo trabajo con AT&T. Hazme un favor y dile a todo el mundo porque es muy importante de aprender y hablar un idioma segundo. Gracias, mija.
Excelente. Did you hear that? Thank you very much. So the bilingual advantage, my goodness. You know what I tell people? When you're making fun of somebody with an accent, they're smarter than you because that means they speak two languages, so quit it. Stop it. I mean, it drives me nuts here in New York, which we're known for not being very polite, but sometimes I love, do this, experiment, social experiment. Ask your cab drivers where they're from. I've talked to PhDs, doctors, speak 4 languages. They make me feel like a slob. So it's incredible. They're so smart. So embrace it and ask. Get curious. Yes, ma'am.
Would you mind translating what she asked you?
Oh, that how important is it to actually be bilingual and learn another language? I think any time you take, it's not just the language, but what it takes to acquire cultural competency and cultural intelligence is having the bravery to kind of push yourself into those uncomfortable places. You'll be surprised. Sometimes I've taken my New York City clients to La Roosevelt because they've never been there. That is in Queens, Roosevelt Avenue. And it's crazy. It's like just experiencing it, living it, is never matches reading the report in your fancy office. So get out there, experiment it. Even if you sound funny, who cares? I had to deal with that for a lot of years when I just got here, so just do it. Anyone else?
Yes, hi, I'm Loretta Green Williams. I am with Harlem World Magazine.
Yes.
And I'm also with the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce. So when it comes
the
to
ones that should have discovered coconut water.
Trust me, we've had that conversation.
Thank you.
Jamaican and Cuban, we had that conversation. So my question is in reference to the cross-culturalization or the cultural intelligence within cross-culturalization. When does it become misappropriated, and when does the individual or organization that does not have full understanding need to intersect with the community that it wants to consider addressing to make sure it is appropriately presented?
So I think nothing beats authenticity, and the only way you get this right is by building an organization and infrastructure and a team expectation that is sustainable. And that sustainability only comes with kind of like, I love the digital parallel. It's like what happened to digital. It's no longer a separate thing that a small group of people understand, but everyone, because it's the thing you need to get right to thrive in business. But that doesn't happen just by hiring a Hispanic agency that puts stuff on Univision. It really starts with transforming from the inside out how people are compensated, what the expectations are in the job descriptions, how they are trained when they are onboarded, and how the rewards and recognitions all the way from the CEO down acknowledge that getting that right is what sets you apart from the pack. Just as you are evaluated on your ability to manage people or drive innovation or risk-taking or achieving results, this is your ability to basically exercise the full power of the marketplace successfully. That is what people will take seriously, that we need to get this right. But yes, it comes with a lot of us kind of evangelizing from the inside out. I bet a lot of you feel like that today already. But elevating it from being the right thing to do because it feels right to the right business thing to do because the street will notice. And it will make a difference when it comes to those numbers in the long haul. Yes,
hello, my name is Tiffany Crawford. I'm with Create Media. You spoke about cultural intelligence, and I think you touched upon this a bit. Where do you start working with clients in terms of integrating that into the value chain? So it's not missed, like we're working on it from the inside out, but it's part of the value chain.
So this is super fresh in my mind because I just did this last week with 120 corporate executives. It's actually easier than you think. Actually, I'll be more than happy to send it out to this group. So we do a very quick and dirty 12-question assessment. It's kind of like the beginning of it to evaluate what level of cultural excellence you're at today. And level 1 to 5 goes from you are ignoring learning, testing, investing, or innovating. Now, that's not a marketing thing. The questions actually evaluate everything from management buy-in to measurements to rewards and bonuses, and yes, leading with cultural insights and things of that nature. So that's typically the first step, kind of like you do when you're trying to get into a new workout program. You want to see what is your, where you're starting, what is your body mass, all this stuff, so then you know what progress looks like. So be gentle with yourselves. I know some of us, maybe because of your backgrounds or your passion points towards this, may feel frustrated. Oh my gosh, my company is so behind. It takes time. But that first realization, when you see yourself in that self-assessment and realize, oh my gosh, I'm at level 1, it's the first step. Kind of like the AA for business leaders. Anyone else? Well, thank you very much. I'll be around and